And of course, the number one thing people asked me about this summer was what happened to Stephen Colbert at CBS. CBS, all of a sudden, out of the blue, claimed the Late Show was losing $40 million a year, and then miraculously got FCC approval to sell their company, which is what they wanted. And I guess that wasn't enough for El Presidente, because he posted, the word is, and it's a strong word at that, Jimmy Kimmel is next to go in the untalented late night sweepstakes, which is alarming because I don't know if you know this, Jimmy Kimmel is me.
Thank everybody, and in particular, God.
Remember God? The guy who abandoned us on January 20th of this year, God grabbed his keys and left, exchanged us for another world, I guess? I don't know. You know, there's a rumor making the rounds this weekend that
it's like seeing a magician pluck a rabbit out of a hat when Trump is the target of humor just for the rabbit to leap off the stage and bite him. Josh Johnson and Jimmy Kimmel did more than just make fun of him. They made a blooper reel out of his entire presidential performance. They don't have to debate, thus their jokes are more impactful than any policy criticism. They simply hold up a mirror and allow his irrational ego outbursts and desperate need for approval do the talking.
Oh, this is getting to him because he did something today that he rarely does. He said nothing all day. There were no press conferences, no cabinet meetings, no public signings, no chats with reporters on the lawn. He holed up in his office all day long. He took one phone call from NBC News this morning. They asked about the letter. He said, I don't comment on something that's a dead issue. Really? See, you're still screaming about the election in 2016.
But trying to shut down the release of the files only makes them more interesting. So over the last week, Trump has been throwing every distraction he can at us. And I want to go through some of them to show you how desperate he's getting. Let's start with his go-to distraction. Obama!
The witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. Irrefutable proof that Obama...
Please remember to hit the bell icon and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this video. Trump's issue is that he has made himself into an untouchable figure who says he is smarter than everyone else. Kimmel and Johnson, however, shown how flimsy that illusion is. Comedians reveal his lack of seriousness whenever he tries to be taken seriously. Although it cannot compel respect, power can command attention. For this reason, rather than helping him, the Oval Office became the priciest comedy stage in the world. One in which the celebrity is unaware that he is the punchline.
And shortly thereafter, Fallon will be gone. These are people with absolutely no talent who are paid millions of dollars for, in all cases, destroying what used to be great television. It's really good to see them go, and I hope I played a major part in it. Oh, you delicate, chubby little teacup. Did we hurt your feelings?
By making each self-congratulating statement sound like an audition tape for a reality show that no one requested to watch, Kimmel has mastered the art of puncturing Trump's inflated ego. He draws attention to the fact that Trump views governance as a spin-off of his former TV career, albeit one with far more chaos and lower ratings. When Kimmel makes fun of him, it's more than just jokes, it's devastation. He continually alters his own narrative to evade the reality, tearing down the well-manicured facade of power to expose the insecure man behind.
Seems to be keen on sweeping this birthday book under the rug. This is the Fox News homepage this morning. Inside Epstein's infamous birthday book, Clinton's note, poolside candidates, and bizarre animal pics. You click it, you find Clinton's note, you find animal photos, you find poolside candidates, and nothing else. No mention of the President of the United States. They didn't have a single story on Trump's dirty doodle this morning, but they did have all the details on Paula Deen getting canceled in 2000.
Josh Johnson gives the takedown an additional level of depth with his composed and razor-sharp delivery. His humor feeds on pointing out absurdities with such sardonic accuracy that Trump's boasts seem even more hollow and bombastic. Johnson doesn't have to yell or make things up. He merely emphasizes how strange it is that the nation's most powerful guy chooses to battle comedians rather than run the government. The more Johnson draws attention to the disparity, the more obvious it is that Trump's true struggle is with jokes rather than policies.
The problem with this distraction is that it's so old, Jeffrey Epstein wouldn't date it, all right? Trump has been going after Obama for decades. He's going to need something else, something juicy.
The White House offering an unexpected health update on President Trump, revealing that he recently underwent a battery of tests and has now been diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency.
Doctors tell us it means there isn't adequate blood flow to the veins in the legs, which can cause...
Their combined roast is terrible because it goes right to the heart of Trump's character. He has aspirations beyond being president. He desires to be worshipped, loved, and treated like the main character in an endless production. However, Kimmel and Johnson remind everyone that the star is fucking up and the show doesn't have a script. Trump misinterprets the opportunity for applause and ire as entertainment, turning every event into an open mic night gone bad. Comedy highlights the discrepancy between his perception of himself and what other people perceive of him.
We make jokes about you. I thought you were against cancel culture. I thought that was like their whole thing. When did you become so woke? Unfortunately for Frosty the Snowflake, the only place we are going is to New York. Once again, we are packing up our Hailey Bieber smoothies and headed to Brooklyn for a week of shows at BAM, the Brooklyn Academy of Music, starting September 29th and October 3rd.
Ironically, Trump thinks of himself as a born comic who can crack jokes at gatherings and enjoying the laughter. However, those who came to support him no matter what are the ones who are laughing. When he appears in front of a genuine comedy crowd, the response changes. Kimmel is aware that irony, wit, and timing are more important than loudness and repetition. Trump makes jokes without being aware that himself is the topic. It's the most obscene joke ever. A man who is forced to provide laughs against his choice because he is eager for them. He can't break free from the pattern because his ego won't let him be silent. He has to answer, and in doing so, he presents them with information on a silver platter. The self-described trailblazer and deal-maker of failed businesses, insolvent casinos, and haphazard choices isn't precisely the genius he poses as. Furthermore, by exaggerating such shortcomings, Kimmel transforms them into comedic set pieces, demonstrating that the emperor has a wealth of unpackable jokes in addition to nothing at all. Every chuckle reinforces the perception of Trump as more of a running joke than a leader.
The fact of the matter is, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were close friends and gross friends. This book, Trump says that he wasn't part of, contains some of the most disturbing drawings maybe ever. I don't know which one of his buddies did this, but on one side, the unknown artist depicts a man who I think is Jeffrey Epstein giving lollipops and balloons to young girls. That's in 1983. The next page has him 20 years later relaxing and enjoying some sun. I'm not sure. But if you zoom in close, you can find Bill DeWaldo.
Johnson's strategy intensifies that mockery by interpreting Trump's behavior in common sense. He will highlight how absurd it would appear if anyone else attempted anything that Trump does, like rewriting history in real time. That's what makes Johnson's humor so brilliant. In order to show the audience how far from normal Trump truly is, he normalizes the ridiculous just enough. By removing the grandeur and exposing the utter absurdity that passes for leadership, he transforms the fantastical into the evident. Comedians can convey in a single joke what political opponents find difficult to say during discussions. Trump despises it because of this, since laughing doesn't retort. Beyond the obvious evidence of his own actions, there is no need for proof. Additionally, after persons are there giggling and not paying attention to his justifications. Trump now uses the Oval Office more as a stage where he plays every night in front of an unimpressed audience than as a seat of power. Though comedians are there to point up that the show has become boring, he still paces, repeats lines, and wants admiration. Kimmel notices the despair. The discrepancies are heard by Johnson. Both present them with a clarity that defies misinformation and spin. Ultimately, Trump is unable to deliver a punchline. He is unable to edit a laugh. The one script he can't control is comedy.
Trump has been doing everything that he can to keep those files under wraps. He's even got his friends in Congress trying to help. Mike Johnson shut down the House just to avoid a vote on the release of the files. Yeah. Do you understand that they clear Congress out for the summer like they found a dookie in the pool?
What's really vicious about this type of? The thing about roasting Trump is that it does more than just damage him at the time. It solidifies his legend. Historians will debate policies, scandals, and accomplishments for decades to come, but the comedian's takedowns will still be recognizable cultural relics. The fine print of law will be forgotten. They will recall the jokes about his mistakes, his fears, and his intense need for attention. Even the authority of the presidency cannot take away the lasting effects of being made fun of on late-night television. Johnson and Kimmel also highlight the pointlessness of Trump's fixation on appearance. He surrounds himself with failure despite his boasts of achievement. Although he exudes confidence, he is constantly afraid. That provides satirist with endless fodder. Each time Trump falls for the ruse, he validates the comedian's claims. His outbursts increase the laughter rather than quiet it. He is caught in a vicious cycle of feeding the very mockery he detests, making him his own worst enemy. By emphasizing how strange it is for a sitting president to waste time arguing with artists, Johnson effectively captures that loop. Kimmel intensifies it by reminding everyone that Trump appears less like a leader and more like a frail celebrity the more he obsesses over comedians.
The other thing everyone kept asking me about over the summer is if I'm moving to Italy. Because I mentioned on the Sarah Silverman podcast that I got dual citizenship through my mother, who has Italian citizenship. And oh man, the MAGA gang went nuts.
Late-night comedian Jimmy Kimmel confirming he has obtained Italian citizenship.
Jimmy Kimmel's so scared he's drafting an escape plan.
We could see Jimmy Kimmel evidently leave sometime soon. He would say ciao.
How is he Italian? There's no way he's Italian.
Their strategy is brilliant since it eliminates the need for invention. All the content is provided by Trump. They simply present it in ways that emphasize how ridiculous it is. Due of the subject's insistence in performing for them, the comedy is effortless. A press conference turns into something more. A rally turns into a skit. A tweet turns into a joke. Trump may believe that he is laying the groundwork, but Kimmel and Johnson are now in charge, and their version of events will be the one that people remember. That is humor's invincible force. It bypasses spin, penetrates defenses, and reaches the core directly. Trump loves attention, but the one thing he detests is attention that is reframed as mockery. It devalues him in ways that never could a political rival. Johnson and Kimmel are aware of this, and they take use of it deftly. Conventional critics conceal their attacks in historical parallels, policy breakdowns, or analysis. That might damage people's reputations, but it doesn't connect with regular audiences. Conversely, humor doesn't require translation. It is immediate, profound, and enduring. The audience doesn't need to read a report to understand when Johnson reframes a scandal as satire or Kimmel makes a policy blunder into slapstick. They chuckle because, when stripped of pretense and revealed for what it is, the reality is obvious. Horrible.
Our president, even though he made a fortune in crypto this year, Trump did not crack the Forbes top 100. Donald Trump clocked in at number 201, or as the White House described it, first place plus 200. But he did take a big lead jump. He's up 118 spots from last year. Trump, according to Forbes, has grifted $3 billion since he won the election, just as the founding fathers intended.
Trump is unable to understand that this mockery persists for far longer than debates or speeches. In a news cycle, a senator's lecture is forgotten, but a clever joke keeps coming up in conversations, memes, and clips. This permanence was leveraged by Kimmel and Johnson. They are aware that the replay button works in their favor. Comedy immortalizes every gaffe, oddball tirade, and theatrical performance, and it spreads and endures longer than any formal declaration. A performer who is unaware that he has been reduced from star to caricature is doomed. The way comedy reverses power dynamics is where the real hurt lies. Trump based his persona on controlling the spotlight, taking over the stage, and making sure nobody else could overshadow him. However, He loses control the instant a comedian alters that performance. His once dominant appearance has turned into a clownish one. Jokes are built up using the movements intended to convey authority. Punchlines are now fueled by the same boldness that formerly terrified. Power evaporates because he gave it out by his own excess, not because someone stole it.
Distractions, what it looks like when they're fed to the media and what it looks like when they don't work. Because right now, Donald Trump is desperate to move on from the Epstein files, but the story is only building.
A major development just in. The Department of Justice says it is trying to set up a meeting with longtime Jeffrey Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell, who's in prison.
The Justice Department now putting out a new statement and saying if Ghislaine Maxwell has information about anyone who has committed crimes against victims, the FBI and the DOJ will hear what she has to say.
Wait. You haven't talked to Ghislaine Maxwell? Epstein's accomplice? The woman he's in the most...
This dynamic has been understood by all cultures. The court. Jesters frequently revealed things that advisors were afraid to mention. Sharpened laughter becomes more harmful than criticism. That's what Kimmel and Johnson represent now. Their humor dismantles rather than just amuses. Hours of policy discussion could never dispel illusions, as a satirical comedy can. It is nearly impossible to take someone in a position of authority seriously once you have made fun of them. Additionally, Trump's foundation is being eroded in real time, as he is solely dependent on being taken seriously. The humor's subtle beauty lies in its platform neutrality. Late-night monologues that cut through the day spectacle are broadcast to television viewers. The exact phrases he believed would solidify his power turn into the theme music for his downfall. The humiliation is amplified on the internet. All of a sudden, comedy is culture rather than merely critique. Johnson and Kimmel are also aware of pacing. They are not overpowered by constant fire. They allowed Trump's own cadence to control the humor. They allow the ridiculousness to linger before puncturing it with a single sentence, when he uses lofty declarations to build tension.
Fondling father still has an Epstein-y little problem on his hands. He avoided the press all day yesterday until dinner time. At dinner, he rounded up the closest thing he has to friends to take a field trip to Joe's Seafood, a restaurant, to make a big show out of how safe Washington is since he turned it into a militarized zone.
We're standing right in the middle of D.C., which, as you know, about over the last year was a very unsafe place. Over the last 20 years, actually, it was very unsafe. This city, here I am, standing out in the middle of the street. I wouldn't have done this 3 months ago, 4 months ago. I certainly wouldn't have done it a year ago.
And I also wouldn't have done it tonight without the 85 Secret Service agents.
They handle his performances as if they were a gift, and timing is crucial. They smack the ball down with perfect comedic timing after he tosses it into the air. The genius lies not only in their words, but also in the way they listen, wait, and let his antics show before striking. This deliberate technique accomplishes more than just humiliation. It changes the way that people interpret his presence. Audiences are taught to anticipate laughter rather than to be afraid of his bravado or admire his self-assurance. The change from spectacle to punchline is significant. The public is no longer curious about the next policy. They are curious about the next joke. The entire frame has changed, and Trump is not telling his own story anymore. He appears frequently in a comedy series that is out of his control. For him, irreversibility poses a threat. When someone is made the target of a cultural joke, no one else will do it. Leaders can change their image. Celebrities are able to change. Mockery, however, is sticky. It clings. The perception of a leader who has been reduced to a comedy prop endures. With every repeat, it gets deeper. Past laughter serves as a filter for every new performance. Strength is not visible to audiences. The next gag setup is shown to them. For this reason, he is more afraid of mockery than of resistance. Comedy cannot be debated, but opposition may be fought. You can't back down from a fight by arguing.